It can change. Sometimes the supervisors at our center can pull up cameras. Like I said, sometimes we put them on there just to see what the weather is. Especially if we have inclement weather, if there's storms coming through, we can see actually how severe they are when people are calling in. Sometimes they put them up for incidences if we can see anything, and those cameras can be taken away from us to the fact that the base, which is the precinct desk, has control over them and can move them to wherever they need to when they need to.
So what you're saying is that those cameras, where they're pointed and when they're available to you, can be controlled by members of the police department.
Correct.
And in your 6 years by this date and 7 years now, it's a rare incident for somebody to put an incident up on the screen like that.
Correct.
I have nothing further, Your Honor.
All right, thank you, Ms. Curry. You may step down.
Thank you, sir.
Statement called its next witness.
Thank you, Your Honor. Your Honor, the state calls Alicia Euler.
Stand right behind your chair to start. Raise your right hand. You swear or affirm under penalty of perjury that the testimony you're about to give will be the truth and nothing but the truth.
Yeah.
All right, have a seat. And just to make sure that we can hear you, we're going to have you take your mask off. I'm going to leave mine on, and before you begin, and so we can test out the microphone, could you give us your full name, spelling each of your names?
Like my whole name?
Yep.
Alicia Marie Euler, ALISHA, MARIEEOYLER.
And I think I'm going to have you pull up just a little closer to the microphone. Perfect. Thank you. Mr. Slisher.
Thank you very much, Your Honor. And Ms. Euler, the key I'm going to give you is that when you speak, you should be able to hear your own voice over the speakers, all right? So just lean close enough to the microphone to be able to do that, all right? So first, I'm going to ask you a few questions so we can get to know you a little better. How old are you?
23.
23. And are you originally from Minnesota?
No.
Where did you grow up?
No, I'm from Arizona.
You can kind of pull back. You're actually speaking.
I'm sorry. I don't like this. Okay.
Yeah, I just need you to speak towards me.
Okay, are we good? Okay.
Thank you. And you can even pretend you're yelling at me if you want to, or make your voice hit the back of the room, all right?
Okay.
So you said that you grew up in Arizona, is that right?
Yep.
What part of Arizona?
Just Arizona.
The whole state?
Yep.
Okay. When did you make your way over to Minnesota?
I don't know. A while ago.
Were you still in high school?
Yeah.
Did you attend any schools when you moved to Minnesota?
Yeah.
Where did you go to school?
Red Wing.
In Red Wing, Minnesota. Where else did you go?
St. Paul.
St. Paul. Okay. What's the last grade you completed through high school?
11.
Okay. Can you tell the jury the different cities or towns that you've lived in since coming to Minnesota?
I guess Minneapolis.
Okay. Minneapolis, and I assume Red Wing for a
Yeah.
while?
St. Paul.
And St. Paul. Okay. Are you currently employed?
No.
Can you tell the jury a little bit about the types of jobs that you've held?
I used to work at Speedway,
And which speedway do you recall the location?
38th in Chicago.
Right. What did you do at Speedway at 38th in Chicago?
I'm a shift lead,
Shift lead? What does that mean?
not like a regular employee, but not a manager, like kind of in the middle.
Okay. So not a lot of us have had the experience of working as a shift lead at Speedway. So I'd like you to just tell the jury a little bit of what's your day-to-day job like when you have that job.
I work at a cash register. I do paperwork. If a customer has an issue, I handle the issues.
Okay. You also work as a cashier.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have to train other people or supervise other cashiers?
Sometimes.
How long did you have that job, Ms. Layla?
About a year.
Did you start as a shift lead or did you have a
Yeah.
different position? You started as a shift lead? Can you tell the jury a little bit about the types of hours you would work there? Was it a full-time job?
Yep, I work 40 hours a week.
Okay.
Well, I did.
You did?
Yeah.
Okay. When did you typically start your shift?
Between 2 or 3 to closing 10 o'clock.
10 o'clock was closing?
Yeah.
Was it a pretty busy store?
It has its moments.
Okay. Well, I'd like to see if you recognize the area. First, I'd like to show just the witness what's been marked for identification as Exhibit 1. Oh,
All right, Mrs. Fisher.
thank you. Ms. Euler, we're ready for you now. I'm going to show you, first I'm going to offer Exhibit 1.
Lines received.
And then I'm going to show you Exhibit 1. If you can take a look at the screen. Just the one in front of you.
Oh.
All right. Do you recognize what's shown in Exhibit 1?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you see the speedway where you used to work?
Yeah.
I
No.
need to speak up a little bit.
Yep.
Thank you.
All right. So, do you have something that looks like this in front of you? A little stylus? All right. What I'd like you to do is just take this and see if you can draw a circle around the speedway where you used to work. Thank you. All right. And the name of the store directly across the street, were you familiar with that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yes?
Yeah.
And what's the name of that store?
Cuff Foods.
You ever go in that store? Were you a customer there?
Not really.
Not really? Just a place across the street where you worked?
Yeah.
Okay. And then do you see what's directly across the street if you cross 38th Street from Cup Foods?
Yeah.
Do you recognize that building?
Yeah, I didn't know that's what it was, though.
What did you know it as?
I never really paid attention to it.
Okay. Well, do you recall whether or not you were working on May 25, 2020, Memorial Day?
Yeah.
And where were you working?
At Speedway.
At Speedway. All right. And do you recall when you began your shift?
About 3 o'clock.
And do you recall specifically what you were doing at the Speedway that day?
Ringing up customers.
And at the cash register?
Yeah.
Can you just, again, using your stylus, point or maybe put a little X around the area in front of the store where the cash register would be?
Like right here.
Okay. Are you able to see the outside across the street from the cash register?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Yes? And you said you began working at 3. I'd like to draw your attention to a little after 8 o'clock in the evening that day. Do you recall something that caught your attention outside of the Speedway?
Yeah.
You tell the jury what caught your attention.
The police, like in that area, it's always police.
When did you first notice, or where did you first notice the police?
I would say like on the corner, right, like diagonal, like across the street, like right here. Oops.
Okay. And so for the record, that's across from Cup Foods, across 38th Street in what is labeled on Exhibit 1 as Dragon Walk. Is that right?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
All right. Please tell the jury in your own words what it is you saw that caught your attention.
Just the police, try not to cuss, just them messing with someone.
Okay. And when you say messing with someone, and thank you for not cussing, but when you say messing with someone, could you please describe what you mean by that?
Like, I don't really know how to explain it, just like disturbing somebody before we found out who it was.
Okay. Now, did you eventually find out who the person the police were disturbing in your words?
Yeah.
Who was that?
George Floyd.
Had you ever met this person before?
No.
To your knowledge, he'd never been a customer in the Speedway?
No.
Okay. Can you please describe for the jury what you saw after you first noticed the police having this interaction with the person you now know to be Mr. Floyd?
Can you say that again?
So can you just describe, after you first noticed the police having this interaction with Mr. Floyd, what did you see happen?
In my handcuffs.
You saw. Where was Mr. Floyd when you saw him in handcuffs?
Over here, across the street.
Okay, in the area where you first indicated by the Dragon Walk?
I believe so, yeah.
And then what did you see happen after Mr. Floyd was in handcuffs?
I don't remember.
What's the next thing you do remember?
Oh, God.
Are you a little nervous today?
Yeah.
Well, that's okay. You just take your time, and we have plenty of time to get through this, okay? And so, just backing up, you'd indicated that Mr. Floyd was in handcuffs, and just think to yourself what you next remember seeing after you noticed he was in handcuffs.
I think they ended up putting him in the police car thing.
And which police car? Where was the police car that you saw?
The one right across from Cup Foods.
Okay. Now, before you saw that, did you see the police take Mr. Floyd across the street?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yes? All right. So after you saw him in handcuffs, you saw him being taken across the street and then placed in the car right outside of Cup Foods. Is that right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yes?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. And you owned a cell phone, correct?
Yeah.
You owned a cell phone at the time. Yes?
Yes.
And did you do anything with your cell phone as you began to notice this incident involving Mr. Floyd and the police?
Well, as you guys seen that on the security thing that I had my phone.
Right, you had your phone. Did you do anything with your phone?
Like recording it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So what I'd like you to do first, before we get to the point where you start recording, just explain to the jury what you saw after you noticed the police officers putting Mr. Floyd in the car.
I don't remember.
Okay.
I can't think right now.
Well, you indicated that you began recording with your cell phone. Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
And during the time that you've been speaking to the police about this, you've provided your cell phone recordings to law enforcement. Is that right?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
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 All right. And there were a total of 7 cell phone recordings that you personally took. Is that correct?
Yes.
You've reviewed each of those cell phone recordings, correct?
Yeah.
And those cell phone recordings, do they fairly and accurately depict what you saw on the street that day?
Yeah.
And 2 of those cell phone recordings were actually made from inside the store, correct?
Yes.
And then the rest were outside of the store.
Yeah.
Now, those cell phone recordings, the individual clips, have been marked and disclosed to counsel as exhibits 2 through 8. You wouldn't know that, but they have. And at this time, I'm going to offer exhibits 2 through 8.
Okay.
Yeah.
Any objection?
No, you're
2 through 8 are received.
And then, Ms. Euler, you also had an opportunity to review a surveillance video. Is that right?
Yes.
And the surveillance video, for the record, is Exhibit 11.